What? Tell me about them first.
Well, I actually thought that they did okay. I think that Beggage did. I mean, we all know. I think one of the highlights was when Amy said something about they were talking about the state of the city and how much better, and she referred to, well, we're in a lot better shape than we were when you left.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was a good zinger.
That was a zinger.
Yeah, it was a good
Well, he knew it was coming. Come on.
Yeah.
He's a big boy.
But they did okay. I think the questions that they asked, I liked the questions because they were really in depth and they really explained what it is that they wanted. And if the person didn't answer it, they came back and asked it.
Really?
Yeah, they did.
Now, who got the comeback and re-ask more often than anybody else?
I really was. I can't tell you that. I don't think that there was any. I just couldn't see anything blatantly, but I think the format just didn't allow that. You only had a few minutes, and I think that Maestrom asked some tough questions of Amy, more so maybe than Mark Beggage did. That was just kind of my feeling. At least the first one was pretty detailed. But I think that overall, I don't think there was anything glaringly bad about it. And I think they saw real soon that she's not going to back down. So just bring your questions on.
Now, tell me about bike paths. This was an odd question. It seemed like who asked Amy about a bike path or about the bike riders?
I believe that was one that was sent in. They had two questions that were sent in, and both of them I felt were pretty dumb questions. I just thought, surely there's people asking a better question than what they're reading. And that was the moderator from KTVA that asked that, because it was something sent in on email or Twitter or some Facebook, I don't know what.
So it was basically, look, how are you going to protect all the bicyclists who roam around town?
Yeah, and she answered exactly. I testified here about 4 or 5 years ago in front of the assembly, and that was when they were doing they were wanting to build a bunch. I don't know if it was under the original Title 21. I can't remember what it was, but they had planned all of these bike trails.
A bikeable city, even though you'll kill yourself half the year.
Right. And I just said, personally, I just want you to fix my potholes.
Yes.
I'm sorry. It's very difficult in our climate.
90% of people just switched over to you. That 90% of people just want you to run for mayor now.
Right. But seriously, it's dark. It is tough not having a wreck, and bikers have a right to do it, and that's fine. But you know what? You just know you're taking your life into your own hands. Yeah. It's really
hard
tough
to
when
see.
It's dark and there's two cars, and so I think it's I have to question. I've got a couple of neighbors that love the bike ride, and they do. But when you're riding when the traffic to work and from, when that traffic is busy like that, that's not. And I know they get federal money or whatever, but you know what? Our city needs to take care of what the charter says it'll take care of. The roads.
Judy,
and things.
let's close this up here. So we had a big debate. Maestrom, Begich, they were the guys lobbing the questions over the wall, and you had all the 4 mayoral candidates, the 4 top tier candidates. Give me just sort of a grade for each one of them. How do you think each one of them did? And if they had a moment that we needed to know about. How correct?
I don't, there was, oh gosh, you asked me that and I'm an old woman. Let me see. There was, I think Ethan Berkowitz comes across as a very nice person.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And he talks in broad generalities like most Democrats do, but I think he put a lot of thought into them. And so I probably would give him average, maybe C+, B-.
And you're a teacher, so you know what that means.
Right. And I, even though I want Mr. Berkowitz, you want to do all this stuff, where do you think you're going to get the money? But anyway, he comes across as someone that's knowledgeable.
Yes.
Dan Coffey, probably the C+, B. I thought Dan did okay last night.
Did he keep his hands out of his pockets, for gosh sake?
They actually, I believe, were sitting down for most of the time.
All right,
and
real quick here, give me.
And then Andrew just is. I just think he's more liberal than Ethan, and that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
And so I thought Amy just held her on against a group of men that had been running for office and been in this for a long time.
Stood up to the crowd. Judy Elledge.
She did.
I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Glen Biegel Show. 28 minutes after the hour, it's voting day. And I'd love to hear from you. Tell me what you thought of the KTVA debate. What was the most important part of this election? Give me a call, 569-1080, 357-5868. All right, how about this? I just came up with it. A brilliant, unbelievable, phantasmalistic strategy. what we need in the runoff is Berkowitz and Halcrow. Then we can run a write-in campaign that actually could win. Because it would be fun to watch those two guys sort of out-liberalize themselves. Well, I'm going to nationalize this. Well, I'm going to force every person to have a gay person in their family. Well, I'm going to shut down every business that's conservative at all. Well, I'm going to make sure I shut down every church. I mean, who knows where they could go? It could be fun to watch.
I'm going to spend more money than you are.
I'm going to take every dime
of other people's money than you are.
If you make over whatever the top paid person who works for a public union makes, although that's pretty high because a couple of those guys get like 300 grand. But if you make more than that, I'm taking every dime you have. Whatever the top there is, that's the top. That's the most anybody can make.
So is that our plan?
That's our plan.
All right. I think it's brilliant.
Isn't that smart?
Yes.
That's clever. I totally nailed it, though. I knew they were going to go after Amy as the woman.
You called it last week. You said it.
It's so sad.
And I was telling you, I didn't think that it would actually happen.
I know.
And then the whole cutting out of the face happened, and I thought, jaw-dropping. I couldn't believe it.
Here they were, heaping on. Yeah, and it's hard, I mean, we're sort of built that way, to watch a whole bunch of men sort of surrounding a woman. We don't really like the look of it. It just has a bad smell to it. It just doesn't seem right. And so you really have to watch what you say. And then Halcrow comes in, and he's got the biggest problem with this. You really don't understand this complicated stuff, Amy Demboski. Oh, really? Well, maybe, sir, I have a master's degree in business administration and finance. So maybe, sir, who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, a silver foot in his mouth, maybe I do. I mean, I hate to tell you, I know more about this than you'll ever know. And you'll never know more than me. And so I don't know. It's very hard for our minds to separate the fact that this is some kind of a battle because, look, politics is war. That's what it is. You take territory. You have spies that go into the enemy camp. You figure out how to turn their soldiers to you. You listen to the Glen Biegel Show, by the way, on KOAN and KVNT, 24 minutes before the hour, 569-1080 and 357-5868. I would love to hear from you, especially about the KTVA debate. And you don't have to agree with me. I don't care. I don't want you to agree with me. I would prefer if every person who called up today disagreed with me, at least in some way. I don't know that that'll happen because I'm very rational, right? I've just come up with the most brilliant political strategy in the history of mankind where Ethan Berkowitz and Andrew Halcrow win this first round, and then they out-liberal each other, and we get a third-party candidate, just like Lisa Murkowski, and we actually get a conservative to win with like 40% of the vote. Is that brilliant? Gosh, I'm smart. I just like being the smart. Anyway, 357. Could you save me from myself? Honestly, it's Tuesday, folks. It's voting day. David Nees running for school board on the phone with me. Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing? Sorry, I turned that debate off as soon as Mark Bagett's picture flashed up on the television.
Did you have that same problem? My whole computer. He shut down my computer.
Like, no, I thought we got rid of you. Go away.
He actually shut down my computer. I was playing it the next day or, like 3 o'clock in the morning this morning. My computer's like, I am not playing that. There is an error. There's a problem.
Yeah. Well, you pushed the get rid of this guy button.
Well, so you didn't make it very far because they showed his face pretty doggone early.
Was there a reason they didn't invite any women in there on the panel?
Oh, people are going to be noticing this a lot more now than they have in the past. I kind of like being what do you call it on the cusp of progressivism, trying to get a woman to be the first mayor of Anchorage. It's very exciting to me.
Well, that would be really exciting, and she's run a very good campaign. I'm excited. I was going to let you know that the voter turnout is higher at my local precinct than I've seen it in a while, basically back to November. So the people are out there voting.
Well done, people. Let's give a cheer. Do we have a cheer for? No.
I'm not that good yet.
Okay, that's the best we can do.
We could do a roar of the crowd is going to be heard.
Yeah, we'll do a silent wave.
If I stand up, a whole bunch of things will fly off.
Yeah. So what I am hoping for is that we vote down all the bonds, We don't need any more debt, state reimbursement or not. Just take a little time out. We haven't done that in a while. And I'd sure like to have a couple other folks on the school board with me. So, vote David Neese and Eliza Snelling and returning Kathleen Plunkett, because then you've got 3 math people sitting there with all those liberal art majors. Maybe something will change.
All right. Well, that sounds good. I'm glad to get a positive read on Kathleen. I hadn't had that one before. So those are the 3, though, the 3 that at least all I'm looking for is a tiny little change to give parents a little more say.
I'll give you a little bit of hope. Yesterday at the school board early meeting, when they were talking about the budget, which looked like goat rope, it was really bad. Kathleen actually said, we need to go to zero-based budgeting, which means that, yeah. And I was kind of like, what? You didn't say that for 6 years. Why are you saying that the day before?
Okay, well, she's got my vote. Look, if she wants to do zero-based budgeting, which means you justify every dollar, every time you want to have a grader roll through, every time you want to have something new paved or a new thing built, you got to justify every dollar.
Kathleen Plunkett, school board president, with 2 other people voting for her. There we go.
That's very possible. David Neese, how hard is it for a non-teacher union-backed candidate to win this?
It's very difficult because what happens is usually only the union folk and the people that get their money from the contracts show up. What I'm very encouraged with is that we got some support this year from the Republican Party.
Okay.
And they actually sent out an email to all of the Republicans saying, here's our 3 Republican school board candidates. And then they sent out
I did see that. I saw that from Randy. Yeah.
Which is never, I've done this before. I've never had that happen. So,
well, that might be a bearer of good news in that the Republican Party is really feeling the pinch, because Berkowitz is going to be coming on strong. He said on this program, I don't know if you heard him, David Neese is on with me, school board candidate. He said, in sports, sometimes, Glenn, they sign 10 and 15-year contracts, and that could be a really good deal.
Yeah, that would put it way out of the reach of anybody else. Oh, my God, 10-year contract.
Yeah, why even have another mayor? Heck, we could just make Ethan Berkowitz and his everlasting contracts mayor for life.
Mayor for life, yeah, that's exactly what we need. But if that is a bad plan, if you think that's bad, get out there and vote. It's not too late. Everything's open till 8.
Hey, David, can I hold you over here? I want you to hear Greg's question and give me an answer to it.
Sure, I will be happy to.
Greg, welcome to the Glen Biegel Show. Nice to talk to you. Happy Tuesday.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I took David Neese's advice. I voted for him. I voted for Snelling and Plunkett, and I am on my way to wave signs for Amy Dembowski, the real fiscal hawk. By her actions and her words, they actually match. And I'm strong behind Amy, and I'm heading down to wave signs. I hope folks get out and vote, and I hope they vote for Amy.
All right, Greg, I appreciate that. Thanks very much. Okay. Fiscal hawk. Yeah, I think that she has staked out that land pretty well. And, the thing is, if we had a decent media, David Neese on the phone with me here running for school board, if we had a respectable media, people would know that the time for fiscal hawkishness, the time for the responsible spender, the person who's going to get government just to do the things that it needs to do and needs to do them well, that the time is right now. There's literally no better time for us to get serious about trying to make this city efficient and effective.
Well, that's a good point, Glenn. Did you see the article by Great Alaska Schools where it was titled "Only Fools Would Cut Education Funding," essentially calling the legislators down in Juneau fools?
That's a nice way to make friends.
Yeah,
here's why they can say that, by the way. David Neese on the phone here on the Glen Biegel Show. The reason they can say that is they got all the power. They went down there walking heavy, walking loaded. They brought with them thousands of people who are public employees, who want more power, who want more money in their paycheck, and they know what to do. They got them to back up, to cower, to give in.
And that's where people like you and I and people that listen to your radio show have that equal power. If we could send an email or a letter to our legislature and say, you know what, hold fast. You guys are on the right course. The storm's going to brew a little bit, and it'll blow down, and everybody will look back and go like, man, I'm glad we went through that part with you guys at the helm.
Wow. You know what, David? The funny thing is you'd think, oh, that doesn't matter.
It matters huge.
Sometimes that's all people need because they got elected and people told them when they got elected, but then all those people dry up and go away and you never hear from them and they never tell you you're doing a good job and all you do is get yelled at.
And the Great Alaskan Schools, or they say they're a grassroots organization, they picked Eagle River, where Anna McKinnon's district is, to go out and hand out flyers saying, bother your legislators about education funding.
They're a cash roots, not a grassroots.
They are a cash. Well, astroturf's what I call them. All right, Glenn, I hope you go out and vote. And if your listeners are there, please vote.
All right, thanks. David Nees running for school board. Nice to have him on. 569-1080, 357-5868. You never want to get where I am with the EPA. Never. When the EPA says something, I literally do not give it any weight at all. I don't trust anything they say. Here's what they're saying about the new permitting requirements for the Clean Water Act. They're literally saying this. The EPA, countering what it calls, quote, myths and inviting supporters to tweet the truth, has said on its website that the rule does not protect any types of waters that have not already been covered under the Clean Water Act of 1972. That is a bald-faced, in-your-face lie. I can't even believe it. There's no reason. I know these people think that they are entitled to lie on behalf of their issue. A lot of people over time have thought this. Many people have thought this. It is not true. This covers many more types of terrain, many more types of waterways. We've all heard the stories about what this covers, and we know all about you, EPA. Man, this is so, it's kind of sad, but you never want to get where I am, because people can tell the truth just to surprise you. And if you always think, well, anything that comes out of your mouth is not true because they've lied to you however many times, this is a big one, though. This is a big, fat one. Tweet the truth that we're not going to cover any types of waters that have not already been covered. I already know that they're looking at streams that flow part-time, part of the year. Those haven't been covered. Navigable waterways. That is what this Clean Water Act is supposed to cover. Not a puddle. Not a little tiny rivulet that runs for a couple months and then goes away. Folks, we're at a very serious time. And I realize that the problem is that half of our country, their names are Democrats. They don't care. They love it when the EPA lies. They love it when the EPA gets together with the Greenies and they're writing emails and the Greenies are writing their regulations as they're having public testimony. They don't mind it at all. They're not worried about the government. They don't fear the government. They love the government, especially when it makes conservatives like me really mad. Folks, go vote. That's what you got to do today. 13 minutes before the hour. The Glen Biegel Show here on KOAN and KVNT. I still want to get your take on what you thought happened on that KTVA debate. Whatever was the most important moment of this election, tell me that too. 569-1080.
But don't know what I will find.
Apparently, Bonnie has some comments to make about my hairstyle, and I don't know that I can take this, but I guess it's time for me to face up to it. What is it? What's wrong with my hair?
You think too much of it?
Oh, no. Listen
No,
to
no.
that.
You've got a great head of hair, Glenn.
Oh. Well,
And you know it.
yeah, sure. Well, guess what? We've got a new sponsor, and they're going to be giving something away for the ladies.
That's right. High Rollers. Paula at High Rollers on Old Seward Highway, 11109 Old Seward Highway, across from Lowe's, is going to be giving one lucky listener every week a $25 gift certificate for services only. Nails, hair, tanning, makeup. You pick.
All right. Well, that sounds
So-
very nice. $25 for tresses.
Well, this is I'm
Tuesday,
calling
High
it
Rollers.
Tresses Tuesday
All right.
for High Rollers Salon.
What are tresses?
Tresses.
They
It's your
they
hair.
go under a bridge.
No,
Oh,
your
they-
tresses.
a
Haven't you
railroad
seen Anne of Green
tresses.
Gables? Every woman out there listening knows what I'm talking about.
All right, fine. Okay, so tresses have something to do with hair.
Yes, Diana Barry asked Anne of Green Gables, or no, Anne of Green Gables asked Diana Barry, "Can I have a lock of your raven black tresses?" And she said, "I don't have any black dresses."
All right. Well, so when are we going to do this?
I don't know.
What
In an
time?
hour?
Okay, in an hour. Well, that sounds good. We're calling it Tresses Tuesday here on the Glen Biegel Show, and Bonnie is in charge, as you can tell, and we're in good hands. We're in good hands with Bonnie for sure. Teachers sports pre-K targeted in potential cuts to school district budget. You want to know what our political future looks like? They are going to be looking for money. Paul Seaton just came out yesterday and said he's a, quote, Republican, as Andrew Halcrow is a, quote, Republican. And the last time we were in monetary straits, Andrew Halcrow suggested basically the same thing that Paul Seaton did this time. And that was we need a tax on capital gains and we need an income tax in the state of Alaska. So you want to live here, we're going to make it a little harder. If you're one of the 150,000 or so people who probably will pay taxes, you're going to get hit nice and heavy. And that's the future that we have, is a state that we have to guide. I mean, the level of vitriol, the level of, oh my gosh, oh, we can't possibly, oh, there's no way, you think of the children, you're throwing the poor, the level of anger and fear and dismay that is going to be coming out of people is going to shock you. But you're going to have to believe one thing. I believe this about America. And in order to ignore what is going to come, and it's going to come in this mayoral election, whoever Coffee gets through, Amy gets through. If it's my suggestion about how this, and you're listening to the Glen Biegel Show here 5 minutes before the hour, 569-1080-357-5868. If it's my suggestion about how this could turn out and turn out very well, we have Berkowitz and Halcrow out liberalizing each other. They get through the primary, and then we get to vote for and write in a conservative candidate. So that could be something that really works out. But we are going to have to ignore them and believe one thing about America, which I think we always used to believe, and that is we're good. We're good people. We're good people who care about other people. And that when push comes to shove and when hard times hit, that we take care of people who are in need. That may not look, by the way, like $800 for a family of four for the supplemental nutrition assistance program called SNAP. It may not. It may look like a bologna sandwich, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, some milk. So not $800. Maybe it's only going to be $400. Maybe it's only going to be $300. Maybe it's only going to be $200. Oh, you can get your family of four by on $200. I've done it. I did it for a couple of years. It was not easy, by the way. It was really hard. But we've got food banks and things like that. I mean, there are lots of support services, lots of charitable support services out there, and we will take care of the poor. But you have to believe that about us, that we don't need a bureaucrat to go out and give charity to people who really, really need it. We don't need that. Here's a good thing that will happen, by the way, if we right-size government. We will demand jobs. We will start taking personal offense when the 6 Greenpeace activists go out and start boarding ships. Drill ship en route to Chukchi Sea, boarded by Greenpeace. Hey, and right now what we think about that is, oh, these little Greenpeacers, doggone you. You just leave us alone. We really want a job. You know, we'll do it right up here. We're good people. Can you just leave us alone for a little while? It'll turn from that to, well, I got a 5% cut last year in pay, and I haven't seen a raise in 3 or 4 years. You know what I think of you Greenpeacers? You're really making me angry because we got jobs up here. We got good developers. We got strong businesses who need you off their vessel. Half a dozen Greenpeace protesters aboarded the Trans-Ocean drill ship Polar Pioneer, one of the 2 vessels slated to participate in Shell Oil's Arctic offshore exploratory drilling season this year, repeating a tactic the group used in 2012. No, I think at some point we do need to take it personally. These guys are trying to wipe out our children's jobs, our future, jobs for families, jobs that give dad a purpose, and they give mom a chance. That's what these guys are doing. And these young fools who have no clue how they drill for oil all around the world and how good we are at it here. They don't know anything about the ecology or the pressures or any of that stuff. They don't care. They're fools. They're nutcases. And they're dangerous because they raise the price of everything in Alaska. And that is what their goal is. Not necessarily to stop it, although Begich and his crew did a pretty good job. You know, what do they put half of Anwar off limits? They're, you know, the EPA is out there rolling up, shutting down businesses. The Army Corps of Engineers prevented CD5 from being able to roll forward for about 7 years. And the cost of government is just outrageous. But these guys want to raise the price. Government can stop it outright, but these guys just raise the price of everything. You won't want to come to Alaska. It's too big of a risk. You and I have got to fight that. 1 minute before the hour, it is the Glen Biegel Show here on KOAN, KVNT. Love to hear from you. If you got thoughts on this mayor's race, the bonds, whatever you're going to do, I hope you're going to go vote. Give me a call right now, 569-1083, 575868. Stay tuned. 6 minutes after the hour. Happy voting day, everyone. Welcome to Citizenship 101. This is your starting point. You're listening to the Glen Biegel Show here on KOAN, KVNT. And your drive home is underway. Hopefully you've got a big plan to go out and vote a little bit later. The hour sponsor for this hour of the show. If you've got a Subaru, I got just the place to take it. Alaska's premier independent Subaru service center, A&A The Shop. What a great place. 6 out of the last 12 years, the best shop in Anchorage and the best warranty in the business. 36-month, 36,000-mile warranty for both parts and labor. Nah, it doesn't really get much better than that. Actually, it does. With every time they bring your car in, that's whatever they do to it. If they give you an oil change, they'll have an 85-point free inspection with everything that they do with your car. Make sure to take your Subaru to A&A The Shop, aatheshop.com, 562-3919-696-2096. The cuts are starting to roll out. Now, here's the part that I don't know and I don't trust. And again, we get down to the trust issue. Let's see. In total, the budget passed by the Senate would reduce the Anchorage School District's funding by $29.9 million. And that's what they're saying here right now. Now, you will note, by the way, that, and give me your calls, by the way. I really want to hear from you. That's the most important part of the show. I would love to get your thoughts on the KTVA debate. But here's one of the things that's difficult for us to measure, and that is that we have fewer students this year than last year in the Anchorage School District. Our population is aging, and a lot of the cuts are just a result of that. So this isn't, they're not actually cutting things necessarily. It's just that we have fewer students, so we get less state funding. Oh, my gosh. Look who they're ganging up on now. It's Amy. Amy, welcome to the program. Thanks for calling.
Well, thanks for having me. It is the last day. There's about 3 hours left, and then this election is over. So,
the first part of the election, we got the runoff to do. Yeah, more than likely. But this part of it, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. We really have pushed very hard, and we're pushing right up until the very end. So I keep reminding people, the polls are open till 8. Every single vote is going to count in a 4-way race, essentially. It's imperative that we get our people out to the polls. Well, I hope you've made your case. I mean, I've watched what you've done. I've listened to you several times here on the radio and speak. I like the fact, by the way, that these debates were so late in the process because it gave you more time to basically get your platform worked out and know how to address all of these other guys who are running for mayor and kind of get your point across.
Well, and I tried. Last night's format was, as a candidate, very tough just because it's hard in 30 seconds or 15 seconds to make a succinct point and get out all the information you're trying to get out. But I tried very much to differentiate myself from the other candidates. And I think to some degree I was successful, but, I think what it shows is, somebody can step up and run, and you can be an absolutely viable candidate, even though you might be outspent. And I think we proved that without question last night. Well,
and it's not necessarily money that's going to win this. Ben Berkowitz, he's got deep, deep roots in the Democrat Party and people on the left, and so he's going to get into the second round here. But there are a lot of conservatives who are very glad that you're running, and they worked hard on your campaign. They helped fund you and support you. And just to let people know, I'm one of those conservatives. I thought Amy was the best candidate. We had Dan Sullivan call up and talk about his longtime friendship with Dan Coffey. So I'm not saying it's universal, but you have, I think, captured the understanding that somebody, just an average person, can run. Not that you're average. I mean, you got an MBA and all that kind of stuff, but that it doesn't have to be a lifetime politician. We can find a regular Joe.
Exactly.
Or
and
Jane.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing. If you show that hard work and tenacity and you just have a clear, candid message, it will resonate. And there's no question. The reason we got this far is because everyday Alaskans stood up and said, you know what? Business as usual is not good enough anymore.
We need someone who's going to stand on their values, and we need someone who's going to deliver and do exactly what they say they're going to do. And
Amy,
I think that,
you go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that message has resonated.
Amy Domboski on the phone. Last day. This is it. 8:00 tonight. That's when the polls are going to close. What question do you have in the KTVA debate? What question did you like least?
The bicycle question.
Now, what was the bicycle question? What were they trying to get to here?
Well, they were talking about, bicycle safety and, how,
You could say boat safety, by the way. More people die in boat accidents by 4 than die on bicycles.
And I look at it, there's no question. I don't make light of the fact that people do get injured in these situations. But we have to go back to, how many gun violence deaths have we already had this year?
Oh my gosh.
How many traffic accidents? I don't take death lightly at all. But we have to get our priorities in line. And, to me, I'm not going to put adding new bicycle paths ahead of making sure we have adequate public safety resources. We have to get more firemen and more police officers and make sure that those basic essential functions that government is supposed to do, we're doing those and doing those well before we expand any sort of recreational type of asset.
Well, it's such a balancing act, and it's really hard to do. You want to stay over with me? I'm sure you got a lot of places you want to go. Okay, great. Amy's going to stay with me. It is 357-5868. If you got a question for Amy and you want to try to throw her a curveball or you just want to see what she's going to say, she's good to go. She's game. And she's, I'm sure, so excited about the end of this campaign. They go on for so long. You wouldn't think that you'd just get tired, but it's very draining because you're out in public all the time, and that's very difficult to do. 13 minutes after the hour, the Glen Biegel Show here on KOAN and KVNT. And we're doing Tresses Tuesday, by the way. Oh, yes. High Rollers. They are a hair place, and they do nails, and they do makeup and all kinds of stuff. $25 gift certificate at the 45-minute break, and we're going to be giving that away. Bonnie has worked it all out. She can tell you all kinds of stuff. So if you want to give her a call, she'll be there to talk to you. Otherwise, give us a call, 569-1080. Ask Amy Domboski a question. She's on with us. Stay tuned. 18 minutes after the hour, Glen Biegel Show. Having a conversation here with Amy Demboski. Let me tell you about somebody who you need to talk to. Country Financial. Yes, they're an insurance firm. And they also do financial planning, and they ask questions which are going to reveal to you what your responsibilities are and how you're going to approach your financial future. If you are looking for success in this life and the next, oh no, I'm not talking about the afterlife. I'm talking about your working life, your retired life. Give Country Financial a call. 13 local locations to serve you. Great at what they do. 866-COUNTRY is how you get a hold of them, and country is spelled
COUNTRY.
Let me go back to Amy Demboski, mayoral candidate. What was your favorite question? And I want to hear about, too, in addition to that, to whether or not you thought it was wise for you looking back to come after Begich and his record.
Well, that was my favorite part of the whole debate.
I thought so. That's what I figured.
Favorite question. I had, the door opened, and I got to just say, the fact of the matter is, being lectured on financial policy from Mark Begich was humorous. So the fact of the matter is, Mayor Sullivan has done a good job financially for the city. Have we agreed on everything? No, we haven't. But there's no question he's leaving the city in a much better place than Begich ever did.
Yeah.
And for that, I think, I know many of us are very, very grateful. It was a very tough time back then. And, from the ashes, we arose much stronger. And,
well, unfortunately, we've lost a lot of police officers because they got 35% more expensive. So we've lost 80 police officers. I mean, there are parts of town and certain kinds of crime that the police just won't respond to. I mean, the people are telling me about their cars just being broken into. Somebody was here at the radio station, Amy. He said this. You're not going to believe this. This is absolutely outrageous. He said, I don't even lock my door anymore because they broke two of my windows. I just leave my doors unlocked, and I leave my glove compartment down and my center console open just to show them, look, I've got nothing for you to take from me.
Oh, wow. That's absolutely awful.
Well, he called the police too, but after one of the break-ins, and he said the police basically just laughed at him. We're not coming to take a look at your car.
Well, it was interesting. I had an interesting situation last week, and I know when I had someone call 911, it took quite a while for them to respond. And, you look at it, and I know they're stressed, and there's no question about it. But when you have expensive labor, and, you have to find ways to deploy those resources in the most efficient manner as possible. But there's no question in my mind, when I look at their overtime budget as it's escalating and escalating, that to me is a symptom of the fact that we do need more staff. And as you add those staff, those overtime numbers will come down, but there's got to be this balance, the sweet spot that we find. It's going to be challenging. There's no question about it, but we have to understand that's our priority. So when
what you're not saying here, Amy, by the way, and let me translate it for other people, a lot of mayors have wanted this kind of power to say, you are required to have the number of officers that you're legislated to have. You're not allowed to not hire them. I will make sure that you do hire them, because when you don't hire them, you know what? You make a few officers really rich, and you make the rest of us really in danger. That's what you're saying.
And the biggest challenge you have is when you spread them this thin, you do deal with higher attrition rates because they do get burnt out. You do deal with higher crime rates. You do deal with citizens who are put in situations where they don't have backup or they don't have help, and then it's dangerous for all of us. So I think the focus has got to be on what is the government supposed to do, and the first thing we're supposed to do and do well is public safety.
Let me go to the phones here. 569-1080. Amy Demboski is on with me here on the Glen Biegel Show, KOAN and KVNT. Karen, you're on with mayoral candidate Amy Demboski.
Hi, Amy. I'm at my polling place, and I'm ready to walk in and vote for you.
Aw.
And I just want to encourage everybody to get out there and vote. We need every vote for Amy.
Is it going to be close, Karen? Amy? That's a real good question. Is it going to be close?
Well,
how close do you think it's going to be?
Well, the polling that was done shows it's going to be close. But if I've done my job and we've laid out a good plan, if we have executed the plan well and people show up, then I don't think it's going to be nearly as close as people think.
Okay. Well,
Right now,
we don't know unless people go to vote.
Right now, the game plan is it's going to be very, very close, and so every single vote is going to count. So if you haven't voted yet, please pick up the phone and call your family and ask them if they voted, and if they haven't, please encourage them to go, because I keep reminding people this election is crucial. If we lose the mayor's office, we will be right back to the Begich era, where we have a liberal assembly and a liberal mayor.
Anything else, Karen?
Well, yes, that's my concern. I wanted to tell Amy, thank you for stepping up and doing this, because that's my same feeling. If we don't have Amy in the mayor's seat, I'm afraid that all these other candidates are going to tax us right out of our homes. Literally, we cannot afford our property taxes to keep going up. We cannot afford an income tax and a sales tax. And on top of that, Juneau might be taking away our PFD. So I don't know why these mayoral candidates, other than Amy, think a successful campaign is taxing us out of Alaska.
Good question. It's going to get tough here. I don't know that the other mayoral candidates quite understand this, but it's a good point from Karen. I wanted to get your thought on this. Amy Demboski on the phone here, 569-1080. Everybody seems to think they want to pat you on the head. They want to pinch your little cheek and just give you a glass of milk and send you off to bed or something. Do you feel like you are not qualified to be on the stage with Ethan and with Andrew and with Dan?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, I think I've showed time and time again. We've had about 17 debates, and I have consistently shown not only do I know the issues, I know them better than most of them do. And, everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, but when it comes to fiscal policy and what's happening in the city, these are issues that I've dealt with for multiple years now, and I know them, and I know what needs to be done, and I am absolutely resolute. I mean, I will stand firm, and I will stand for the taxpayers, and I will stand for conservative principles of limited government and free market options, and those are the things that I know. And so I think some of these gentlemen were surprised to see how strong of a candidate I was. I know I was dismissed in the beginning, but I can guarantee by last night they weren't dismissing me anymore.
Why do they keep going back to the well on this? Because I heard one of Andrew Halcrow sort of approached you and, look, Amy, you just don't know the issues here. These are very complicated things, and I mean, I'd heard was it that bad? I mean, did he save himself at all? It's embarrassing.
Well, I think I don't think he was expecting my reaction, and my reaction is one of, you know what? I have faithfully served the people of this community for the last couple of years. I know the issues, and the people of this community have elected me. They absolutely think I'm competent and smart enough to deal with these issues. So I think he was surprised. I don't think he expected, that I would stand up and I would fight for these principles, and I did, and I think it was a good exchange. But at the same time, I'm not going to back down, and I know that the taxpayers want somebody who is going to absolutely stand by their side and stand up for those principles.
Well, I'm glad you're running. I know that you saw that we did not have in your mind a conservative running, a true conservative running. I do have this question, and this is the biggest question I have. There was a flyer that came out. I don't know how Coffee comes around, or maybe you don't want his endorsement. How does the conservative side of the aisle work together after this primary? Has it been too harsh in your mind?
I don't think so. Like I said, the flyer that came out, I pulled those information either from the state website and their voting records, or from the candidate's own webpage. And so, I look at it like, I'm more than happy to stand on my record. And, I know Coffee went negative and he had these nasty ads out there, and that's fine. I chose to ignore it. And I think that's what grown-ups do. I mean, you pick up and you move on. And so I'm not concerned about that. Even after the negative ads and stuff, I chose to ignore. But, we've had cordial interactions at all the debates and everything, and nobody's been malicious to each other. Everybody's been very nice and kind. So, it's
so you think there's a way?
Oh, yeah,
After this
absolutely.
primary, basically that's what this is. Ethan's in the runoff at this point, and then we're deciding who's next. You think there's a way that we're all going to get together, work together?
No, I do. I believe so. And I think that's because, this is one community. And throughout the election, no matter how, I mean, last night was the first testy debate we really had. But at the same time, everybody shook each other's hand at the end and said, good job and well done. And now it's time for us just to close it out with closing out the polls and getting our supporters to those polls. And then our voice will really be heard.
Amy Demosky on the phone with me. Any final thoughts on that nutcase, the dangerous guy with the box cutter who you confronted, or thoughts on the Anchorage, Alaska Dispatch news story on this?
Well, the fact of the matter is, it was resolved peacefully. And the dispatch, these liberal reporters are very upset about the fact that I was exercising my constitutional right to carry. And at no time was there ever a gun involved in this incident. But they try to sensationalize things, and
So the gun was never an issue while you were there. Now, if
Yeah.
he had gotten dangerous, you would have had the option at least to defend yourself, which that's a really wise thing to do. But they brought the gun and they made the gun as the centerpiece of the conversation, a total tactic of the left. What this confrontation was about was somebody who was a chauvinist who didn't want you to have your own signs and wanted to destroy and deface your property.
Well, absolutely. And then the commentary in the article alluding to the fact that Amy was complaining her signs. No, I was there and there was somebody who had a knife and, he was vandalizing.
You did exactly the right thing. That was such it's a centerpiece of this debate that's going on right here. So I'm glad everything has turned out and that you're safe and that he got out of there, but hopefully he was charged. Amy Demosky, good luck tonight.
Well, thank you so much, Glenn.
All right, 357-5868-569-1080. The Glen Biegel Show rolls on. Give me a call. 27 minutes before the hour of the Glen Biegel Show. Love to hear from you. This is your drive home, but it is also your opportunity. Give me your thoughts on this mayor's race, what you think maybe some positive and negatives were from each candidate, and also what you think the pivotal moment in the election was so far. And love to get your thoughts, how you think it might turn out. I have my belief on how this is going to turn out, and then I have my real doubts. Amy seems to think that conservatives, moderates, common sense independents, libertarians will figure out how to work together. They are going to roll out the attack on Amy on the drug issue. That's going to be a big one. Of course, for coffee, they're going to... Andrew Alcrow was not obtuse. Well, I guess I can't complete that thought. I didn't want to complete that thought. I think that the amount of ammunition that they have against, and Dingman gave you a very small review of it, a letter from Coffee asking for leniency for a drug dealer who ended up having a death as a result of his drug dealing, and asking a judge for leniency for that. Everyone will know every jot and every period, every comma, every part of that letter by the time we're done. And the left is going to have $1 million to do whatever it is that they want to do. So you kind of have, at this point, you got to choose which end game you want to run with. They're going to make Amy seem like, well, she's too conservative. She is not going to protect you. When in reality, she hopefully will start negotiating and ensuring that the hiring process is not controlled by the police department. It's not controlled by union hacks. Look, I'm going to give you a piece of evidence that is absolutely rock solid. And you're listening to the Glen Biegel program here on KOAN and KVNT. This is stunning, but it will tell you why union folks get confused as to what it is that they're trying to do. George Wirch had allocated enough money to have something like 520, I don't know exactly remember what the number was, policemen. They would not run an academy in order to fill up the police force to the number that he had allocated. They would not run an academy. They had hundreds, thousands of people who were applying to be police officers, and they had these two union hacks who were responsible for going through all these applications. Not qualified, not qualified, not qualified, not qualified, not qualified. Biggich gets elected immediately. 2 months later, right? He gets elected. It was the end of June. In August, it was July or August, they had a full 26 member. You understand that these guys are just political hacks, and they should make every one of us angry. Because their job was not to make sure people are safe. If Berkowitz is right, if Amy Demboski's right, that more police make us more safe. And I think when you stop responding to certain kinds of property crime, they're just exactly right. Our city's going to fall apart because we have police that cost us $150,000 per policeman. We can't afford that. We don't have that kind of money. So I know what kind of games they play. And the games they play right now are their job, and the union's job is to make rich people out of people who are just about to retire by giving them overtime, because they get the ability to bid for overtime. They get the first choice for wherever they want to spend their overtime. And they control how many police there are. And the police control these union hacks. They control how many people go into these universities, the police, new police creating university things. They control that. And that's got to be taken away from them. Berkowitz isn't going to do that. And that's unacceptable. Now, even though they'll play nice with Berkowitz, just like they did with Begich, and they'll give him a full academy. That's what they're called, an academy. They'll give him a full academy, but I'm not interested in that. I want Amy to have a full academy. I don't want the police to be able to stop us getting more police that we can actually afford. So that's evidence right there. I mean, that's rock solid evidence. I was in the mayoral campaign of Wirch. I watched him trying to negotiate with the police officers to give him more officers. I watched it happen. I was there. I'm not telling you something that I'm thinking might have happened. I know exactly what happened. And immediately upon Begich getting elected in 2003, they gave him a full academy. Immediately. There's no question about this. These people are not above playing politics with our safety. And that is unacceptable. That's why we have to have a strong mayor. That's why we cannot have police and people in the union who decide whether or not that mayor gets a full academy or the next mayor gets a full academy. Berkowitz on this very program said, you know what? Might be a good idea to give our police and fire 10 and 15-year contracts. What is he talking about? How can you possibly judge the performance of somebody 3 months out, a year out? But 6 years, 10 years, 15 years, outrageous. It's outrageous. And that's what we're up against. Anyway, that's my little diatribe about this election and how important I think it is. I hope you get out and vote. 569-1080-357-5868. Glen Biegel Show here on KOAN and KVNT. Let me go to Elisa Snelling, who's running for school board. Well, you're at the terminus of a very long race. Actually, you got in kind of late, so I imagine you're ready for it to be over, though.
I am ready to be over, but it has been a long but very fun 6 weeks. I have gotten to learn a lot more about our community and what they want to see for education. I've gotten to talk to some fantastic educators who, believe it or not, don't agree with their union.
Whoa.
And just, yeah, shocker, right?
No, actually, it's not a shocker. Most people should know this. Look, the people who are running the union oftentimes do not represent the average teacher who wants more control over their classroom, does not want Common Core, does not want the administration to run things. They want to run their own classrooms. It's not complicated.
Exactly. And so it's really nice to hear that out there and know that I actually share their views, and it's time. It's time to get out and vote. And
Elisa, did you convince teachers that you are not dangerous to them, that you guys are on the same side?
Every teacher I talk to,
wow.
There's a couple that, they're diehard and set in their ways, and that's okay. They were open to conversation, and I respect that. But I actually had a great conversation with a great number of teachers, and it's been a lot of fun.
It's very important, and this is the part of you running. I'm so proud of you. I'm so glad you ran. And I know you're not looking for me to be proud of anybody, but look, people who invest themselves in their society and in their city, you are going to have a power about you and a dedication about you that will last years, whatever happens in this election. I hope you get elected, but I just want you to know that you
very much. There's no doubt this has been a very life-changing event. And the one thing that I have promised myself, promised my kids, my family, and to everybody that I've talked to, no matter what happens tonight, I'm not going anywhere. My youngest baby's in first grade, and education and, our children's future means so much to me that I'm here for the long haul, and I'm here to make a difference, and I'm not giving up.
Well, it's great. And, I ran for office many, many years ago, almost 20 years ago now. And I found just what you found, which is it is an immensely enjoyable process.
It really is. It really is. So I won't lie. I am so looking forward to tonight.
It's tiring. It's tiring because you're going. People don't realize, but talking for a short period of time in front of a crowd, you got to prep, you got to get everything ready, you have to worry about sound and all these other things, and somebody could come off the wall with some strange question and you might just be out of step a little. I mean, it's very it just drains you. It's very, very energetic. It requires a lot of energy from you.
Absolutely. It's one of those things where it drained me for the first couple of weeks when I was worried about what people were hearing. And that's when I had to let it go and say, I am me. And these are my values, that if people choose to share my values and, see them go forward, they're going to vote for me.
Well, and what you gave yourself a chance to do, from what it sounds like, is to have a conversation with people who didn't really know. They just, all they've ever seen throughout their life, because this is the way that it's easiest to control people from the union side. We're on this side. Everybody else is on the other side. They're our enemies. We're their enemies. But what happens when they talk to you is, we're not enemies. We're trying to figure out exactly the same things.
Oh yeah, our end game is completely the same. It's just how you get there.
Yeah. Well, and the great thing about it, and this is what I so enjoy about having conservative candidates who want to run for the school board, is teachers should not fear conservatives. We want you to be in control of your classroom. We know that you see each child as a precious gift.
Oh, absolutely. With my children in a charter school, and they don't have to conform to an absolute set of curriculum. They just have to get the kids to the benchmark. They do. They have the freedom in the classroom, and I think many more teachers should have that because they'd have a lot more fun in the classroom, and it would reflect through the kids.
And a lot more success.
Exactly.
Elisa Snelling running for school board. Good luck.
Thank you so very much. I look forward to continuing the conversation in the future.
Oh, me too. Hopefully we'll see a lot more of you.
Thank you.
And take care. 357-5868-569-1080. It is the Glen Biegel Show here on KOAN. Chris, welcome to the show. Thanks for calling. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday to you too, Glenn. I want to bring up two things real quick. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Jerry Pornell. He's a science fiction writer, but he's also a PhD in political science. And he's got what he calls the iron law of bureaucracy. And that is that any organization over the long term is eventually taken over by people whose goals are not necessarily to teach but to further the service of the bureaucracy or the organization.
Yeah, and it's a true law. Jerry Pornell. I always thought it was Pornelli, but I probably am wrong on there.
I don't know either, but
you're right. The bureaucracy becomes self-serving, and this is when, Chris, in my mind, is when the bureaucracy or the movement achieves its goals, like the environmentalists achieve their goals, like unions achieve their goals. They got the 40-hour work week. Now what do? Now we serve ourselves.
Well, and this is what the problem is I think Ethan Berkowitz is probably a decent guy, wants to help people, but the problem is that if no one is served well by a city that's financially insolvent, no one is served well by a city that has more debt than it can service, no one is served well by a city that doesn't have enough police or have enough fire or have the ability to maintain its roads or maintain its schools. And we don't have the money to just throw money at every single problem.
Yeah. And he said he wanted to raise the cost of police from $150,000 to wherever, I guess, assigning them a 10-year contract. God only knows what they'd cost us then. Tens of millions. He wants 80 new police at these higher prices. We just won't be able to afford Ethan Berkowitz. People have got to wrap their heads around that. I know that's hard to explain, but it's the absolute truth.
Well, and the state doesn't have any money. The federal government doesn't have any money, and it's just not possible.
Chris, we are going to have to do with less. A lot of us went through 5 and 6 and 7 years where we either got no raises or minimal raises, and that is not true of public servants. They are far higher paid than the rest of us now here in the city of Anchorage. So that may be part of what has to happen over time. Well, some great commentary there, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Give me a call back another time. Yeah, that's a wise guy. That's a wise man. Not a wise guy. That came out wrong. Are we going to do Tresses Tuesday? High rollers? $25 gift certificate?
Let's do it.
If you are a woman who has hair that needs to be corrected or tressed up or whatever, or you're a man who wants makeup put on him, no, we're not going to do that. Give us a call, 569-1080, caller number 2, 569-1080 right now. Looking for a new car? Oh, yeah. I would love to have a fancy new car at a great price. 677 Auto. That gets you to Payless Car Sales. Ali and his staff, JC, Oscar, all the folks down there. It's much like a family atmosphere. Not that high pressure, each salesperson is out, scooping people up. They have shared sales responsibilities, and it just works very well. It's a much different feel to it. And what you'll find out is these guys have their own shop, their own auto shop, and Ali knows how to find cars just at a fantastic price. A lot of them come up from down south, and so they don't have those hard Alaska miles on them. Anyway, you're going to find a great deal. 677 Auto, Payless Car Sales, PaylessSales.com, 919 East Fifth Avenue. Go down and see all the folks down there. They are there to make sure you get into the car of your dreams at a price you can afford. Have I got a producer again?
I am back.
Okay, good. I was worried about you there. I mean, so her husband walks in. Yeah, off she goes. I'm like, okay, all right. Well, we're just going to do the show solo. Who knows?
We'll be back later.
Hopefully everything turns out. It's no big deal. Don't worry about the show. Show's going to be fine. Whew. Yeah, a little bit of tension.
My mind's back on the show now.
All right, good deal.
And we have a winner. Alan was the winner for the
congratulations,
High Rollers.
Alan. High Rollers. Tressa's Tuesday, High Rollers, and they're across from Lowe's on Old Seward Highway down there. And
Paula and her team will fix you up.
Oh yeah, I bet a wife is going to be very appreciative.
She'll go get a shellacking on her nails.
That just does not sound right.
I still don't know what it means.
I am going to give you a shellacking, young lady. I don't even think it's legal to say that. You're like children's services. I just meant I'm going to fix your nails up.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
It's not like a walloping or anything.
Yeah, you said it a little bit violent. I don't know, Mom. Whew. Well, you're listening to the Glen Biegel Show here on KOAN KVNT, 6 minutes before the hour. One of my favorite days. Time to go establish my credentials as a citizen of the United States of America and to do my part, elect the people who I think are going to make the best argument for government in its limited, not its expansive. Let me ask you a question. Is there anything out there that you think Ethan Berkowitz would take away from the union, a power that he would deny them? Secondly, is there anything that in his heart of hearts, Ethan Berkowitz does not think the government does well, A, or even worse, better than the private sector? With more fairness. You have to understand, he doesn't think of efficiency and all those kinds of things. Most Democrats think just about their base groups, about this group needs this, and this group wants this, and this group doesn't want a Kinnick Arm Bridge, and this group, wants EPA to control all the streams and services, whatever. I mean, it's very complicated, the calculus of it. It comes out of his mouth very well. I wanted to do my pluses and minuses, by the way, for all the different candidates. So this is what I thought the positive and negative for each of the candidates. For Ethan, I've seen him in one debate. This is the one down at Wendy Williamson. And he had moments of total brilliance. He is a prosecutor. He is a lawyer. He's from Berkeley. He's been in the mix, on the floor, in politics for a long period of time. And he had moments where you just thought, well said. And I despise you for it. But I'm going to have to give that to you.
It sounded pretty.
Yeah, no, it really did. So I really give that he can really deliver a line, and I think that's very powerful. Begich, to me, is his big minus. Oh, my goodness. Are we really going to go back? Oh, yeah, they had a little kissy, lovey, touchy-feely moment in the camera there. Bonnie was like, gag reflex, hold on, what's that? They're eyeing each other.
They started to
smiling.
look like each other.
Yeah,
they were morphing into each other.
They do look like each other. That's a little scary too. Hal Crow, his biggest plus, I think, is Mike Dingman. The fact that Mike Dingman supports Andrew Halcrow, to me, is a big deal. And Dingman and I don't agree on everything, but I still think that was a real plus for him. to me, Hal Crow's negative is his frown. And I realize that his frown is meant to make him look mayoral or presidential
Or stuck up.
or serious.
Whatever.
No, not stuck up, but it just contemplative, where he's very serious. These are serious things that he's discussing, and he wants it to come across. It just doesn't do anything for me. It really doesn't. So I always think of his frown as his big negative. Amy, to me, her voice, she really has got to go to voice lessons. And I realize that's
I have friends
mean.
who
Yeah.
have offered to give her speech therapy.
No, and she
free
will.
speech therapy.
She literally will. What you'll find out is, because it's so funny. Look, human beings are what we are. We just are. The way you look, the way you walk. If you have a strange, a droopy eye, or an eyebrow that's out of whack, or your nose is a little crooked, whatever, we just can't help it. We're just the strangest, stupidest, dumbest creatures. We are distracted by everything. We are distracted. Berkowitz, I'm sorry, that was bad. Berkowitz is going to be able to convince you of 1,000 different things, which are totally irrelevant to running this city. And so this is reality. And she works hard on this stuff. Look, not a day goes by where she is not trying to figure out, how do I make this voice that God gave me into something that sounds like this is, because she's a serious person. There's nothing unserious about Amy Dembosky. She's totally serious about everything she's done in her life, her family, her education, her dedication to this community. Everything about it is serious. Her voice is a liability. And so she's just going to have to overcome that. And I think she will over time. But I think that's very tough. On the positive side, the way she addressed the very, very, very serious situation with that man, I just think that will affect people for the rest of their lives. You saw a confrontation you've never seen before in your life. Even movies don't do things that well. And that has changed her, and it will change people's opinions. Dan Coffey, he has support from Mayor Sullivan. That means so much to me. Mayor Sullivan is my hero, doggone it. I mean, honestly, he really is. Negative for him. He had his hands in his pockets. Get your doggone hands out of your stupid pockets. I don't know. These are the kind of crazy ideas that come and go. It is voting day. It is your responsibility. It is time for you to do what's right and make sure you go out and vote. If you're looking for a roof, just very briefly, Air Art Roofing, 345-5555. They are there to do all different kinds of roof. A free re-roofing estimate, but a phone call away. When you think roofing, think Earhart, EARHART. God bless you, folks. Have a wonderful Tuesday. I'll talk to you on Wednesday.